Hello and welcome to another video. This is Crafty Rhea and today it is Throwback Thursday and we are throwing it back with a couple neat things from the past. I have my Deckle-edge scissors. These are some of those decorative scissors that we all had for years and years, and I hope you still have some in your stash. This is one of my favorites, and I do use them quite a bit. It's the Deckle-edge, which is just that kind of a random little jagged edge. This is the Christmas card that I am going to recycle. And then my other Throwback Thursday item is this Mulberry paper. It is a paper with a bunch of fibers. You can get it wet and rip it apart and it leaves like a furry look. And then I have this green felt trim. I got this at Michael's on clearance, I don't know, at least 5 or 6 years ago. I've had it a really long time. It came in one whole big roll. I've used it a little bit. I really thought I would use it more than I did, but I haven't used it much. But it's really cool and I thought I would use it today. I'm using a 5x7 card base. I chose yellow because I thought it would bring out the yellow in this card. So this will be a Christmas card, but yet not in your traditional Christmas colors. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start by cutting ripping apart the Mulberry paper so that way it can dry while I'm working on the rest of the card. And I will be putting it on a 5x7 card base, so I want it to be a little smaller than 5x7. So I'm going to get my ruler. I also have my water brush. It has this reservoir here where you fill with water, and it's just a regular brush. So if you squeeze the brush, some water, as you can see, it will come out. My tip is stained a little bit, but that doesn't matter. It won't hurt anything. So I want to start by tearing off, getting wet and tearing off the bottom piece of this paper. I'm going to use my ruler for guidance. I'm going to line my paper up kind of on my mat just so I have it even, and then I can take this ruler. I'm going to take a piece of this tape and stick my paper down. Let me do it at the beginning of an inch. There we go. Let me move it up one so you can see it. I'm just going to tape it down here up at the top just to kind of hold it in place. And I'm just going to line my ruler up with the grid just so I have kind of a straight line going across the bottom. And I'm going to take my brush. There's a little spot that says push and you can squeeze it, and I'll squeeze out some water. And just paint a line of water right along that edge. So as you can see, I just have a line of water painted on there. Let me get a napkin here. Just going to wipe off the water that gets around on my board. Then I'm going to just take this and tear it along where that water line is. And if it starts to dry, I'm just going to add a little more water. this piece here has a big thick piece of fiber in it, so it's going to be hard to get it to break apart. There we go. See if I can soak that down and get it to break off. Now, since that had that big piece of fiber, I'm going to do this again because it'll leave a big hole there. It'll be uneven. So I'm going to line my paper up again, and I'm going to do one more line a little higher. Let's do this over. Put a lot of water down and let it really soak into that paper. And now I'll try this again. That's much better. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing up one side. And I'll just tear this paper off down the side. I don't know if any of you remember, back in the day, Tear Bears used to be really popular. They were just kind of a bear made out of, and other critters, made out of mulberry paper. It was like all the rage. People would sell them on eBay for hundreds of dollars. Okay, so then I'm going to, I think this will give me 7 inches that way. I'm going to measure up here 5 inches, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let me straighten my paper out here a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inches. I'm going to mark this just short of the 5-inch mark. Probably about 1/4 of an inch short, which is kind of midway between these blocks. And I will make another line here. And then I will line this up one more time and make it 7 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 inches. And I'm going to go just, again, about 1/4 of an inch short of that 7-inch mark. I have a little stubborn piece here, so I'm just going to cut that off. Any of my really long, thick pieces, I'll just give a trim with my scissors. It's like giving it a haircut. And then that's how it's going to look on my card base. It'll show a little bit of that yellow and a little bit of that furriness. I'm going to put my watercolor pen away before I make a mess with it. Make sure there's no water left out on my table or on my ruler. All right, and then I can go ahead and adhere this down to the card base. I will use my tape runner. I'm going to put the tape on my card base since it's going to be hard to put it on here without it bending all around and moving and not sticking down like I want it to. And I will use my tape rather than my art glitter glue because I think the art glitter glue might show through the paper. I did have someone ask me that on my last video about the art glitter glue and if I can see the lines of it on my paper, and I can if it's thin paper, like magazine or copy paper thin. I can sometimes see the little bump of it. But on cardstock, generally not, especially if you use the fine metal tip. This fine metal tip, it gives you a really, really fine lines, and you don't put much. But on something like this paper, it would probably show through. So that's why I'm using the double-sided tape. I'm going to just line this up here and just push it down. So then we have the card base ready to go. I'll set that aside. Then I have my card, and I'll start by cutting the front off the card as usual. Go this way. And there's words that are very close, a lot of writing that's really, really close to the sentiment, so I'm probably not going to use that sentiment. But I will use the Season's Greetings sentiment on the inside of the card, so I'm going to trim that out as well while I have everything here. So I think I'll use that for the inside of the card. And my bird says hi. That's Crichton, my African gray. Okay, so I have these 3 images, and I'm going to cut them out with my Deckle-edge scissors. And since I like the gold behind them, I'm going to go ahead and mat them on a square piece of gold. So I don't mind cutting this gold off. I'm going to cut right on the inside of that gold line. And what I'm going to try to do is make one cut to cut the whole thing. I'm not sure if that will exactly work. I might have to make more than one cut. I will have to make more than one cut, but not much, just at the end. And what's nice about these scissors, the pattern is kind of random, so you don't really have to be lined up like you do with some other scissors. I think this way I could do one cut. There we go. So I have one square done, and I will do the other 2. And my last one. Back when these scissors were popular, paper tearing was popular too. And I'm a kind of person that I'm a perfectionist. I cannot stand to just randomly tear a piece of paper. So I used to use these when the pattern would call for, or the design I was doing would call for torn paper. I'm going to kind of just even these up a little bit. They're not exactly straight. And this top piece has a little bit of gold on it, so I'm going to take a little sliver. Okay, that's good. And then I will line them up on this, and I'm not going to measure ahead of time. I'm going to place these on here and then cut them out one by one. I will use my tape for this rather than art glitter glue, since that's a very smooth surface, this gold, and it might slide around a lot. And I just want just a little tiny bit of a border. I got this gold paper at Hollow's Paper Craft. I have a haul video of it. And if you want a funny story about construction paper and my husband, go check it out, because I think it's pretty funny. I'm actually going to I'm going to go in the danger zone here and take this guard off. I'll try not to cut my fingers off. And that way I can get this right in here, very close to the edge. I didn't get this side as close to the edge as I wanted it. There we go. That might have been too close. Okay, let's see if this piece will work for one of these. Yes, it will. So I'll put this tape on the back here. My bird is very excited. I don't know if you can hear him whistling. He's a little crazy. And as far as taking that guard off, don't do it. Because I don't want to hear a story from you later that you cut your fingers off or something. I don't want to be responsible. So don't try this at home. Do as I say, not as I do. All right, I'm going to cut this piece off. See, I had my thumb in the way. I almost cut my thumb off. I'll put my guard back on there later. I want to see if I want the season's greetings for the middle on this blue paper or the gold in the middle. I'll probably do it on the blue because it will make it lighter. It will make the card more lightweight. I'm just going to kind of eyeball this. pull this apart. I think the mulberry paper is what's staining my brush because it got more stained since I used it last. Alright, so I have that piece of mulberry paper there ready for that sentiment. I'll go ahead and stick that on there. And I'll go ahead and adhere this to the inside of the card. This time I will use art glitter glue. I'll try to just keep it on the back where the cardstock is, behind the sentiment. That way it won't show through. So now we have these three. I'll kind of keep the same design as the original card, kind of, right like that. And I'm going to put this trim down at the bottom. And I will cut it here. Let me get I have my good fabric scissors. I always keep my good fabric scissors. I try to only use them on ribbon or fabric. I think I'll go ahead and put them all the way to the bottom instead of up above that. And I will use glue for that. Go with my art glitter glue, and I'll put it down along this seam. And then on these green flowers. Not flowers, trees. If I called them flowers before, did I call them flowers before? If I did, let me know. I'll laugh about it. Make sure my card's open the right way. And then I will just stick this down at the bottom. Hopefully that will stay. If that doesn't stay, I will come back in with some Aleene's Tacky Glue and use that. I usually use that for thicker and heavier things. Okay, so then I have these three. And when I'm lining three things up, I usually do the two ends and then the middle last, so I can give it a good line up. I'll use the art glitter glue for that as well, so it'll hold to that mulberry paper. And since it's on cardstock, it won't show through. What's nice about this original card, has a texture almost like an art canvas. It's kind of pretty, and it really does make these look like little paintings. And I think cutting them out and matting them on the gold makes them look even more like paintings than if the whole card is textured. there we go. We have my Throwback Thursday Christmas card, and on the inside it just says Season's Greetings. This is pretty heavy and it's a little bit bulky, so I would probably use it for hand delivery or put it in a package with something rather than putting it in the mail by itself. But these trees are kind of cool. It's a couple multi-layers of dimension. I've got the birds up there, the doves, and the gold, and then the soft background of the mulberry paper like sky. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave me a comment below and let me know what you think. If you have some ideas of a Throwback Thursday tool or technique or a supply that you'd like me to use, if I have it, I'd be more than happy to use it on one of my upcoming videos. If you like the video, go ahead and leave it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, what are you waiting for? Just hit that button. So easy. Just do it. You know you want to. Thanks again for watching. I do appreciate each and every one of you. And until the next video, you know what to do. Go get crafting. Bye-bye.